They met in grad school and became really good friends. They bonded over Twilight and The Bachelor, and then they moved across the country 1,000 miles apart. Thanks to quarantine, they decided to start Jordan and Rebecca Review Things. You didn't ask our opinion, but we're gonna give it anyway.
Hello and welcome to Jordan and Rebecca Review Things. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Rebecca. This is our very first episode. In this podcast, we read, watch, and enjoy various pop culture phenomena and bring you our unsolicited hot takes.
Warning, there will be spoilers, so leave now or forever hold your peace.
Today, we are talking all about Twilight! Written by Stephanie Meyer and published in 2005, the summary published in the beginning of the book is, when 17-year-old Bella leaves Phoenix to live with her father in Forks, Washington, she meets an exquisitely handsome boy at school for whom she feels an overwhelming attraction, and who she comes to realize is not wholly human.
Ooh. I'm very excited about this episode. For this podcast, we both had to buy the books again. Because
we've made an investment.
Yeah, we've made an investment. So you ordered them online. I went to a used bookstore, which is abiding by social distancing guidelines, and I had to wear a mask. And so I went to the bookstore and I went to the teen fiction area, and all the Twilight books were at the very top of the bookshelf.
Yeah, and you are not the very top.
I am very short.
Person.
I am 5'2". They had a ladder that like moves, kind of like, you know, Beauty and the Beast.
Wow.
Right.
Did you live your dream? Did you like slide across?
I was terrified. I have social anxiety. And so I was like, am I allowed to climb up this ladder, or do I need to get a staff person to do it?
So it wasn't like a fear of heights. It was a fear of doing something wrong.
It was a fear of being told that I was doing something wrong. But also, I was like, who cares? I just want these books. And if I'm going to buy them, they probably would welcome me getting the book so I can purchase them. So I got over my fear, and I climbed up the ladder, and I got book by book. Because if I got all of the books in my hand, I would have fallen. So, anyways, all this to say, I have risked my fear of social anxiety. And I climbed up to the very top of the bookshelf to get all of these books. And so we're going to do these episodes.
So proud of you. Yeah, we are committed to this Twilight series here. When we started talking about doing a podcast, we were like, we can review Twilight.
We're OG Twihards, so.
We truly are. And there's a lot of resurgence of that right now, especially with Midnight Sun coming out today. I'm so excited. I'm getting it in the mail today, and I'm really excited.
I'm just going to get a Kindle, so I have it right with me.
Well, that's fine. I'm a physical book kind of person. Of course, then I'm going to have too many books, and then I'm going to have to give them away one day. But that's fine. With Midnight Sun coming out, everybody's like, I remember being a Twilight-obsessed person in 2008. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rebecca, tell us about your experience with Twilight back in the day.
Okay. I have two sisters, and I'm the middle. So the three of us were very into this all together. I remember reading Twilight in middle school. It must have been 2006 or 2007 when I first read Twilight. I don't remember if I came in on it like publishing day or something, or if it was a little bit later, but I remember being excited for New Moon coming out, so it had to have been between 2005 and 2006. So I was reading that, and I remember loving it. I was so obsessed with this book. This is the first time I've read it as an adult human, and since then, I have always been like, yeah, well, it's, like, I loved it as a middle schooler. So, like, that's sort of, I don't disagree with that to a certain degree now, because it's obviously got some plot holes that I didn't care about when I was 11.
Right.
I don't know. So there's something about this story. It pulls you in even now for me when I was reading it.
It's nostalgic, too, for us because, back when we were little girls and we were just, living life and didn't have to pay bills and stuff. And
The good old days.
we could just read a book about a dreamy vampire.
And he is dreamy.
He is pretty dreamy. I mean,
Edward.
rereading the book, I was like, yeah, I feel things for this character.
Yeah. So I loved it. I went to premieres of the books and of the movies.
Did you dress up in the prom dresses?
No. Did people do that?
I think that was for Eclipse, yeah, because I don't remember. I do remember that one of them, you dressed up in prom dresses. Maybe it was for Breaking Dawn, you dressed up for the wedding.
Oh, I don't remember. I did go to a couple of events at Borders, R.I.P.
Borders. I miss
Borders.
I love Borders.
Me too. My sisters and I really didn't like Barnes and Noble, and we love them now because they're our only option.
Right.
I mean, they're great, but it very much felt like Borders versus Barnes and Noble. You could only be team one or the other, and we were for sure a Borders.
I was hardcore team Borders.
Yeah, so I remember going to events at Borders, and where I grew up did not have a Borders, so we would travel to go to
dedication,
these
bro.
It was. So yeah, I remember being very excited about these books. I don't know if it's on Harry Potter level, but it was, I think, a very similar kind of fan obsession in its heyday.
Right.
What about you?
Oh, me and Twilight. So I was in 8th grade. There was this girl in my grade that I was friends with, and she was always reading this book, and she was always talking about the book, and it got annoying. And I would kind of tease her and make fun of her because that's all she talked about.
Sure did.
And she would go along with it, but then eventually she's like, you should actually read the books and see. And I didn't really read a whole lot at the time, and I was like, okay, sure. So she gave me her book to read, and I could not put it down. I read it through all of my classes.
Oh, I love that.
And I was obsessed. I finally understood it, and then I was just obsessed with it, and that's pretty much
had to go straight to New Moon.
Yeah, I had to go straight to New Moon, and then I went straight to Eclipse, and then Breaking Dawn was not out yet, so I had to wait until Breaking Dawn came out in August. So dude, it was quite a ride. I was ride or die team Edward. Don't talk to me if you like Jacob. And
hey.
I had a Twilight purse, and I had from
Wait, I'm so sorry. Please elaborate. What is a Twilight purse? Is it just a canvas bag with
yes,
Edward's face on it?
So around the time the movie started coming out, I went to Hot Topic, and that was my first.
Oh, God bless.
That was when my love affair with Hot Topic first started. I go
there.
Really? Yes. I was scared of it because remember I was a neurotic child, so I thought Hot Topic was the devil store.
Did you bring your Bible with you into
No, I did
Hot
not.
Topic?
I did not.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I love Twilight enough that I'm going to sacrifice my eternity. Anyways.
Wow, just like Edward.
Right. Oh my gosh. So
Jordan willing to sacrifice her eternity to be with Edward.
Right. So Hot Topic had a lot of stuff in preparation for the movie, and so there was a canvas bag with a picture of Rob and Kristen from the movie poster, and they put it on the bag, and then on the back it was a quote that was, "And so the lion fell in love with the lamb." And I took that bag with me everywhere, and I was like, I'm so proud of this bag. I want everyone to talk to me about it because this is the best book ever. And I also got t-shirts. My parents bought me a blanket with Edward on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had a Team Jacob t-shirt that my dad bought me, but that was the only, I think that was the only Twilight memorabilia that I owned besides the books. I think I probably had posters. Was a big poster kid. But I don't think I owned shirts or bags or anything really.
Well,
but
you're missing out, man.
I don't think I am. So, okay. So we love Twilight. We bonded over Twilight. than as adults, which I think is just funny that it
Yes.
like, permeated our adulthood.
I was so happy to meet someone else who was as obsessed as I was as a child and who was as eager to like watch the movies
get
with
back
me.
into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was very happy. I had a kindred spirit finally.
Everybody needs that kind of friend, man.
I had to wait until grad school to find that, but man, was it worth the wait.
If grad school wasn't worth anything else, I'd be okay.
Yeah. You don't know how long I've waited for you. So that
certainly wasn't 90 years.
Oh my god. Oh, I don't even want to get into that. My god.
This book is so cringy, this whole plot. And you know what? I think just to say it's okay that this book is crappy.
Twilight is guilty pleasure. You know that it doesn't really make sense, and there are lots of problematic things about it, but also I just want to sit and relive my childhood days.
Yeah. Also, 100% no shade to Stephanie Meyer. She wrote a great series. I don't think it's going to survive 200 years and be like some
it might. We don't know.
Literary genius. But we
Also,
appreciated it then. We still appreciate it now. We just acknowledge that it's not the best book that's ever been written in the world.
Well, and also props to her for remembering a dream she had, because I can't remember any of the dreams I have.
See, I rarely dream, but when I do, it is vivid. And it also doesn't make sense. So I feel like I can relate to Stephanie's experience.
Right.
All right, shall we move on to the plot?
Yes. So, here's Jordan's guide to the plot. So this emo girl moves from Phoenix to Forks to live with her dad, and she thinks that her life's gonna suck, but then she meets a boy in science class, and she's intrigued by him, and then he becomes a vampire, and her life is changed forever. Boom.
That's it? That's your... Okay. Okay, here's my go. A child who has never had a healthy parent, so is forced to parent her parents.
Oh, very true.
Decides that as her mother's parent, it's healthier for her mother to enjoy her new marriage than for her to remain a child and have a healthy upbringing. Moves to her estranged father's in the Pacific Northwest where it rains, and she hates rain apparently because I don't know what's wrong with rain.
There's
people.
many things wrong with rain.
No, okay, moving on. So then she's miserable, but she's okay that she's miserable because she's a parent, and so she'll just deal with it. And then meets a hot guy in school, but he treats her like shit. But she's like, ooh, that's hot. And then he treats her less like shit, and she's like, even hotter. And then they start dating, and she realizes that he is a vampire, and she's like, even hotter. And then another vampire tries to kill her, and she almost dies, and Edward saves her, and then he's like, I'm not good for you still. And she's like, you're even hotter. And that's how it ends. I think that's it.
I really like that. That was very good. It's really good.
I just feel like it's incredibly important to acknowledge the unhealthy parental relationships that she has in this book.
Oh,
I don't think there's anything wrong with staying with a different parent. Like, your parents are not married.
Right.
So, and they live across the country. Like, it's okay for you to choose to move to live with one or another.
Right.
But she's choosing to be miserable in the last 2 years of living with her parents because she'd rather live with her dad and let her mom travel with her new husband. Her mom should be taking care of her daughter. Her priority should be her daughter.
Yeah, Renee sucks. I don't like Renee.
Renee sucks. And I think there's a lot of trying to make her seem like she's less crappy. Like, you don't have to go. Are you sure you want to do this?
She's just scatterbrained.
I know. It's like, it was like hairbrained.
Yeah,
like
my hairbrained erratic mother.
You are 17, girlfriend. Like,
she should be a kid. I feel like she never got a chance to be a child.
I totally agree. And, I understand that. I'm a kid from a divorced family. you have to grow up, especially when it's like not an amicable divorce. What your parents should do is allow you to still be a child. What often happens is that you feel like you cannot be because you have to like take care of your parent that you're living with. But she shows up on Charlie's door, realizes that he doesn't cook ever, and she's like, well, I guess I'm a housewife now. I will cook and do the dishes and go grocery shopping for you, and I will do your laundry, and I will clean your home. And I'm like, is this healthy? No.
Well, and it makes sense that once she gets attention from a guy who's making her a priority, that she's all in because she wants an exit.
Because neither of her parents treat her like a kid. I'm not saying they're not caring. They're not bad.
She's just taking on a lot of adult responsibility when she's 17 and should be living her life, you know?
Yeah. And so I feel like Edward is finally, like, the existence of Edward in her life, she's finally allowing herself to experience joy or experience something other than monotonous housework.
Right.
I made a running things we know about Bella tally. Every time a new thing we learned about Bella came in, I added a new bullet point, like things we know about Bella. Because in the movie, we absolutely know nothing about Bella. She has no substance until she becomes a vampire, right?
Yes.
And so I was really curious to see what we learn about her in the books. It might be long if you want me to go through the entire thing.
I mean, why don't you hit the really interesting points?
She's not verbose. She cares for her mom to an unhealthy degree, suffering for her happiness, making sure she's fed, etc. She hates forks and wet weather. She stumbles. She's uncomfortable expressing emotions out loud.
Yes.
She likes being alone. She likes to stare dejectedly out the window at the sheeting rain and let just a few tears escape. She likes to save real crying Jags for bedtime.
Don't we all, though?
I mean, seriously.
I save it.
She doesn't want to be a freak. She's physically uncomfortable. She has no self-worth. She doesn't relate well to people her age. And my comment was, welcome to high school.
Yep.
She doesn't relate to people well in general, apparently. Surprisingly, she is closer to her mother than anyone else on the planet. She's nostalgic for institutionalized education. She's nostalgic for chain link fences and metal detectors.
I have things to say about that.
I have a lot of questions. Moving forward, she loves strawberry scented shampoo, cries when she's angry. She can't sleep with wind or rain sounds, but like it's just white noise. Like I can't sleep without wind or rain sound. Not enormously tactful. Can cook, is in charge of food detail. Has never seen snowfall before and thinks it's disgusting.
Yes. Agreed.
You think snow is disgusting?
I hate snow.
I hate you. End of podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for coming. Goodbye. We'll see you so maybe never.
Podcast is over.
Jordan and Rebecca review things.
Has never had a boyfriend or gone to a dance. Easily preoccupied by books. Has never seen anyone request a different table except in the movies. Always has suspected that her brain doesn't work right / is a freak. She likes Edward more than he probably likes her. Since she'd come to Forks, her entire life seemed to be about Edward. This is where my notes start getting smaller. Is afraid of Edward leaving her. I think that might be it. No, she knows the Phoenix airport well. She smells floral. That's it.
I liked your list. Thank you for sharing.
Anytime.
So we have our stuff about Bella. Let's talk about the vampires in this book.
So the Cullens.
They're so dreamy.
They're so dreamy. Everyone is the most beautiful person in the whole world. Which is, I guess, a trait of being a vampire.
Isn't that kind of subjective?
Very subjective.
So they're described as beautiful, and Bella's intimidated by them.
I forgot that they had dark shadows under their eyes.
I did too. I would probably be concerned about that.
I would be too. And I'm not sure, does it get better with hunger? Like if they're not as hungry, are they not as dark? Or is it
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. they're just dreamy, and they're this family, and they were all adopted by Carlisle Cullen.
And Carlisle, we learn, is 24. I forgot he was
He's
that young.
24?
He's yeah, you obviously didn't pay attention to his chapter. He was changed at 24. And, like, it's acknowledged that Carlisle and Esme have adopted these kids who are they're obviously not old enough to, like, have children this age of their own.
Right.
So whatever. But I didn't realize Carlisle was that young.
Yeah. Wow. So you got these two hot young people that have adopted this group of children, and then the children are dating each other in the house.
It's very strange.
I would be concerned.
Rosalie and Jasper are supposed to be twins.
Right.
They don't look anything alike.
They do not. It's odd that they're pairing up together and living in the same house and they're under 18, you know?
It's incredibly strange. I guess I understand that they want to stay together as, like, a family or a coven, if you will. So I understand wanting to all live together in one, like, city or one place, wherever they end up, wherever they move, they want to stay together. But it is incredibly strange to me that they start these children who are all married to each other.
Yeah.
In high school, but they're, like, It's
But also, why would you want to go to high school over and over and over again? Age is subjective. J-Lo is 50 and looks great, you know? So these people could just be like, oh yeah, I'm 30, but I look young for my age, you know? It's just odd to me that they're all putting themselves through high school again. I feel like if you have an eternity, you should go travel and, I don't know, go live your life. YOLO, you know?
Yeah.
And literally YOLO, because you have eternity to live. Why are you continuing to go to high school? It's just a device to set up Bella and Edward to meet each other and fall in love.
And it doesn't make any sense for them to actually be doing it. It's very strange.
Let's talk about their vampirism, right? So they go out in the sun. Their skin sparkles.
Yes, and it's described, that's chapter 13, right? He sparkles like thousands of tiny diamonds embedded in his skin. And when I reread this, I realized that the way I imagined it is not how it's written. I think everyone was in an uproar when the movie came out, and he just was like one giant silver glitter human. Because it's not how anybody imagined him. I imagined him as a diamond human. So it was cut to be big shines or whatever, depending on how the sun hit him. But the way it is described is thousands of tiny diamonds embedded in his skin. So, like, it's just not how I imagined it. I misread or whatever. I think the way I imagined it is prettier.
That's very interesting. I did not imagine it. I imagined it like the 1,000 tiny diamonds. But
like the movie?
Right. But why would their skin
I don't know.
sparkle?
Also, how is that enticing? Like, every single thing about them is made to pull you in, or whatever that line is.
Yeah.
But they sparkle?
The sparkling is just random.
It really
I don't understand how it happened. I guess we're trying to not be like normal vampires where if you go in the sun, then you burn to death. Or, you know, Vampire Diaries, they have a ring to protect them. I feel like that would have been more feasible with these vampires. But you know what? Stephanie Meyer created it. It's her creation. There you go.
And I watched an interview. Like, I've all of a sudden my YouTube knows that I'm doing Twilight things, but I watched an older interview where they were like, did you do research on vampires? And she's like, no, I wanted to write my version of vampires. I didn't, you know, the only time I did any research for vampires was later or something like that. I thought that was interesting because it is just like she doesn't have to follow all the norms. She can just write her own version of a creature.
It checks out.
It's not great. They're very, very strong. They're very, very fast. They smell well. They hear well. All of their senses are heightened.
They don't sleep.
Yeah, they
Which
don't.
I don't really understand, but...
Well, they're dead. They don't need it.
Oh, I guess their bodies don't get tired. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, their bodies are frozen and also healed to perfection or whatever. Like, they're good.
Yeah.
Any form or ailments and, like, anything bad that happens, the vampire venom fixes it, and then they are frozen in that perfection.
It just doesn't follow the conventions of vampires that we traditionally know. So...
But that's okay.
That's fine. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't love that they sparkle. That is my honest opinion. Don't love it.
I also don't love it. But what can you do?
Honestly. My bone to pick with them is like, why do you keep going to high school and why do you sparkle? But that's pretty much it. After that.
Do you remember the line that Edward says to Bella? Bring on the shackles, I'm your prisoner.
I do not, but...
It's in chapter 14.
50 Shades.
That must have been the one line that, like, prompted 50 Shades.
E.L. James read that and was like, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
All right, do we want to hit some of the main events in this book?
Yes.
So, big thing, she moves. We talked about she's moving to Forks.
She sort of makes friends.
She goes to science class for the first time.
Bella and Edward are lab partners in biology together. And he is just immediately disgusted by Bella.
She says that she smells herself because she thinks she might smell, and that might be why he looks so repulsed.
She does that.
And angry.
Yeah.
It's very obvious he doesn't like her, and then the bell rings and he just storms on out. And then the next week she doesn't even see him at all.
He doesn't come to school.
And she's very obsessed with this because she doesn't understand why he was acting that way, and she wants to confront him, but he's gone.
And then he comes back, and all of a sudden his eyes are a different color, and he's talking to her and asking questions about her, and she's like intrigued by him. And then all of a sudden it's an icy day, and she almost gets hit by a van that a student's driving. He was going too fast, hit an icy patch, happens, and Edward from across the parking lot somehow magically saves her, and there's an Edward-sized dent in the van.
Yeah. So they go to the hospital. Bella gets checked out by Carlisle, Edward's father, and she starts questioning Edward about what happened, and Edward's just kind of like, can't you just thank me and get over it? You don't know what you're talking about.
Fine.
Basically gaslighting her, and she's like, okay, well, whatever.
There's a girls' choice dance, and she's like, to be able to not go to the dance, she says she's going to Seattle that day.
Right. So all the boys are asking, and she says, oh, I'm going to Seattle. And then there's this one scene that I actually really liked where Edward stalls his car in front of Bella before they leave the parking lot. And the guy who almost hit her gets out of his car in the car line and comes to ask Bella to go to the girls' choice dance with her.
While they're waiting.
Yeah. So the kid asks her, she's like, no, I'm going to Seattle. And he's like,
oh, yeah. He said, maybe prom. And she goes, maybe.
And then she looks in front of her, and Edward's laughing, and then he moves his car.
Edward later says, like, I had to give him a chance.
So Bella and Edward start hanging out at lunch, and he's asking her all these questions. But then he tells her that he can't go to science class. He's going to ditch for that day.
Also, I want to acknowledge that Edward is constantly described as smiling. Like, Edward smiles the entire conversation.
He's very happy.
It's jarring, and I wrote down that I'm just getting some Judy vibes from the one time that the gang went to Ba Sing Se, and Judy was like, there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
What?
Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Oh, no.
Okay, well, any Avatar: The Last Airbender fans out there will understand what I'm saying, where Judy, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, he's smiling. He's like, everything's fine. I'm always smiling. And it was just like,
he's very likable when he starts.
I find it a little creepy that he's just always smiling. Like, if I were talking to you and I'm always smiling, Like, wouldn't that be a little creepy?
Oh, well, I didn't really read it that way. I just read it that he was, like, interested and he's asking her these questions and it's cute. Like, it's the beginning of a relationship and you're getting to know each other and you're, like, excited to be around each other. So that's how I read it, but I get it.
Anyways, Edward's like, I'm going to skip class today. And she's like, what? And she goes to class and turns out they're blood typing.
Yay.
And somehow she can smell blood and it makes her nauseous because it smells of rust and salt, apparently.
Honestly, though, I can relate to that because
Excuse me.
I think that blood tastes like rust and salt.
Well, it tastes like it, but, like, if you cut your finger
I
and
can't
it's,
smell
like,
the blood,
2
no.
feet away from it, you can't smell it.
Maybe she
Like, if you put
got
it to
her
your
senses
finger.
mixed up. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. So she faints-ish, is on the verge of fainting.
Mike is taking her to the health office, but then
Yes.
Edward's like, what's wrong with her? I'll take her. And Mike gets
Yeah.
all butthurt because Edward decides he's going to take her to the health office. So they go to the health office and Bella gets checked out and Edward actually gets her out of school because he's like, I think she needs to just go home and rest. I can take her home. I'm
Yeah.
excused from my next class anyway, which I don't think actually can happen, but okay, Stephanie, we'll go with it.
Whatever. Also, I just want to, like, fill in the timeline. This is 2 months after Bella has moved to Forks.
How do you know it's 2 months after?
Because it said it.
Oh, okay. I believe you.
Chapter 5? I wrote it down. I wrote
Okay,
down
it's fine.
Edward remembering Bella's stepfather's name 2 months later is not good memory. It's creepy.
I remember
what I wrote.
people's names.
2 months after you had one individual conversation
Yeah.
and, like, no more?
Yeah.
You remember my stepdad's name?
George.
Nope. like she mentioned him once.
Well, if it's important to him.
But she meant
I don't know. Anyways.
The next chapter, they go to La Push, the La Push beach,
Oh,
which
yes.
Edward doesn't go to because the Cullens don't come here. Someone brought a CD player. That cracked me up.
Sign of the times.
Yeah, really. There are just so many, like a corded phone.
Dial
and
up.
the fact that she emails her mom because texting is too expensive those days.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Relatable. We learned about the Quileute tribe and
Yeah.
werewolves and vampires, and this is where Bella starts thinking maybe Edward is a vampire.
She also high-key flirts with Jacob just to get information out of him.
Is diabolical.
Yeah. Then she has dreams of Edward being a vampire.
Yep.
Next chapter is
Port Angeles.
Port Angeles, which is a big one.
I have
She
so many
goes-
problems with this one.
Really?
Mostly because of Bella's choices in this one.
Well, yes, her choices are poor. So she goes with a couple of friends to Port Angeles to help them pick out dresses for this girl's choice dance. And she's, like, excited to go with them. I think that's important to acknowledge. Like, she's like, yeah, I want to go.
Yes.
She learns in this moment, the girls tell her that Tyler thinks he's taking Bella to prom.
Thanks, Edward.
Thank you, Edward. And then she decides that instead of going with the girls to find accessories, they were going to go to the boardwalk or something.
Yeah, they're going to walk the boardwalk.
Because they're waiting for dinner. Instead of that, she's going to go try and find a bookstore.
That she doesn't know where it is, but she's going to just go find it.
She doesn't even know if there is one. She's just going to go look.
And this is where my problems start. I wrote, why the hell is she meandering a town she's never been to by herself at night? Has she never seen 2020?
I mean, I do that sometimes, but I have a cell phone. So, you know.
Right, you have a cell phone, and she just starts walking randomly, and I wrote, how do you randomly find yourself walking in a warehouse district? Because she's just not paying attention.
Yeah, how did you get there?
And so...
And then all of a sudden there are 4 guys, and what they're implying is that she's going to get raped,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that they're going to physically assault her.
Yes.
And it's freaky.
It's-
like, as a woman, like, reading this, it's like, yeah, this is a fear that I have.
It's my worst nightmare. I don't like it.
terrifying.
And
and it's written very well.
Yeah. Well, and she starts she talks to them. Like, don't talk to them. Keep moving. Keep going.
But then I think what she was realizing is that, like, the road is ending. Like, she has nowhere to move.
That was terrifying. I was really scared.
Yeah. And so she crosses the street, but then more guys are on the other side. Like they had split up. So 2 of them were following her. So she crosses the street. Turns out the other 2 are a little further down as she's walking back. Mm-hmm. And it's scary.
So she gets trapped, basically.
Yeah.
But no need to worry. The silver Volvo comes with our vampire and shining skin.
Commercial for a Volvo. And magically Edward finds her and saves her and growls, if I'm recalling correctly,
probably,
towards these men.
He starts driving her away from town.
Yes.
And she's like, I have to go back because I'm supposed to meet Jessica and Angela.
Yes.
And so he drives her back. And then they see the girls and they're like, Bella, where were you? We were waiting for you, but we got hungry, so we ate. And she's like,
yeah, which is, first of all, like, you don't do that. Those
why
are crappy
wouldn't you
friends.
go look for your friend?
Those are crappy
Your
friends.
friend just left into a... First of all, I wouldn't let my friend walk in the city by themselves. I would be
I'd be like, oh, if you want to go to a bookstore, I'll come with you.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I don't have to go on the boardwalk. Like, I acknowledge that my friend here has never been to Port Angeles, and she came with us, and, like, she wants to go to a bookstore. Sure, we've got time to kill. Let's all go to a bookstore. The fact that these girls let Bella leave and, like...
by herself.
Didn't insist on going with her.
Crappy.
And then that they ate their dinner without her because...
I know!
Where's Bella? I don't know.
We were just hungry, so we ate without you. Never mind, you could have been, like, raped and murdered on the streets of Port Angeles while we're
and she
here
very
eating.
well, like it. Oh,
so many problems. So many. I got so angry.
So they're like, "Oh my gosh, Bella, where were you?" And then they see Edward, and they're like,
Edward charms them and is like, we just got to talking, and I can take Bella home and make sure she has something to eat. And so then the girls are like, oh, okay. And Jessica's like, call me later, Bella. And then they leave, like the piece of trash that they are. And then I wrote, nothing like a casual first date after almost getting attacked by rapists.
Well, and Edward is very like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like trying to make sure she's all right.
I do like how he responds in the situation. He's trying to make sure she's fine. And she's just oblivious to what almost happened to her.
Yeah.
Which is concerning to me, but maybe she's compartmentalizing. I don't know. Anyways, also, why in all of these books do the female protagonists have to be saved because they're stupid and they need a man to, like, tell them?
Damsel in distress.
Right. I'm over that narrative.
It's a trope.
But
it's a trope.
Just a jarring pivot from, like, she almost gets raped in an alley to, oh, now we're on a cute first date where we're learning about each other. But it's fine.
Well, and then we realize that Edward has been actively keeping an eye on her, trying to keep her safe since essentially he met her.
Yep.
That's
creepy.
Weird. Yeah. Also, she keeps saying holy crow. That bothers me.
I did not notice that she was saying that, probably because I was annoyed by it and I blocked it out.
Well, I was annoyed by it, so I wrote it down. And then they have this whole, like, vampire conversation in the car. Like, she's like, I think you're you're a vampire, right?
And he's like,
and they, like, talk about it on the drive over, or, like, on the drive home as he's driving her back to Charlie's house.
It's super casual and, like, not a big deal.
I know, and it's the bit like that's so, and then this is like the big quote from this book is at the end of this chapter about 3 things I am absolutely positive. Gosh. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. My bullet point immediately after that is like, she barely knows him. So now they're dating, basically. Like, he picks her up for school. They start talking nonstop. They're like, asking questions back and forth, trying to get to know each other.
Right. So like you said, they're starting to hang out with each other. He picks her up for school and all this stuff. And my big thing is that Stephanie Meyer's really good at writing infatuation.
Yes.
Because
yeah, I mean, that's where I said Edward is definitely dreamy.
that feeling you get when I mean, there were guys that I liked in college, and like anytime we hung out, I was like, oh my gosh, he wants to hang out with me, and we're sitting so close to each other, and I think our knees just touched, and you get so excited, and you go to sleep and you're excited because you're going to see them in the morning, or you're going to see them the next day. She really did get that down really well.
No, I totally agree.
So, and that was what was exciting for me reading it again, was, oh, I miss feeling that way. And you know, when you get to know someone and you get to spend time with them and you like them and like you're physically attracted to them. So that was my big thing. I think she does a really good job of capturing that emotion.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Chapter 11 is when we learn why the book is called Twilight. That's the only highlight I mean, not like she misses Brown. Her favorite color is yellow topaz because it's the color of his eyes, which I find disgusting because yellow topaz is the worst. And then
is this when she talks about gemstones?
Yes.
Right. I wrote, how the hell does Bella know so much about gemstones? Should I know more about gemstones?
No. Maybe. I don't know.
Is that common knowledge? I
have minimal knowledge because birthstones.
Right.
Yellow topaz is November's birthstone, so I am intimately aware of the color, and I despise it with passion.
Mine is ruby.
Oh,
so
I love ruby.
It's about all I know.
So chapter 12 is balancing. She takes cold medicine, and she calls it gratuitous drug use.
Right.
She's like, I need to sleep well. Gratuitous drug use isn't my thing, but I'm going to do it this one time. It's like, are you kidding me?
You take your Z-Quil, girl. You take it.
And then the next chapter is the meadow.
So they go to the meadow and they spend time with each other and they get closer. Yeah. And that's the scene that Stephanie Meyer dreamt of and wrote about.
Yes.
So, but mostly it's just they're in a meadow and they're talking about being together.
Yeah, and then Edward says that she's become the most important thing to him.
Yeah.
And I found that very strange.
Why did you find it strange?
Because he's lived for 90 years and he's known her for 2 months.
Right. He's an old man, which is very creepy.
Yeah. And, like, he gets to live in his, like, healthy body and have the mind of, like, a vampire, which means he remembers everything. Her becoming the most important thing to him all of a sudden is, I think, out of character for him. And I guess we'll learn more when Midnight Sun comes out.
Their love and infatuation for each other occurs rapidly.
Yes.
And it's concerning because it's like you haven't known each other that long and you're trusting her with all of this information. So anyways, it's just interesting. Like, okay, 2 months ago I didn't even know you, but now you're my whole life. Which maybe that happens. So they're in the meadow and then he takes her home and he stays with her.
Yes. And when she finds out that Edward has been stalking her, she's flattered.
He flat out told her that he watches her sleep.
And she was flattered by that.
You know, someone watching me sleep would terrify me because that is a nightmare. That's not okay. That's really creepy.
I mean, like, if I one day have a husband and, like, I wake up and he's asleep and I'm like, oh, wow, this is my husband. What a life. And I'm looking at him, like...
Right, but he's supposed to be in that bed with you, and you know that he's there.
He belongs.
He belongs there, and you gave him consent to be there. Bella did not give Edward consent. He's just stalking her.
Right.
And that's unhealthy. That concerns me. As a child, I was like, oh, it's so cute that he's watching her because he's so protective of her.
And this is the chapter where Edward says, bring on the shackles, I'm your prisoner. Next chapter is when he introduces her to his family officially.
Right. She wakes up and he's in her bedroom. And he's in the rocking chair, which creeps me out. And she jumps into
grandpa.
Yeah, and she jumps into his lap and like puts her arm. It just was so creepy. I didn't like it. Yes. She's just canoodling with him on the rocking chair, and she's like, "I love you," and he's like, "I love you." And I wrote that We moved from cute and endearing to awkward and creepy real quick.
So she goes to the Cullens house, which is in the middle of the wood.
So basically the big point of this one is they meet the family.
Yeah, and they're all very, like, excited for her.
Yes.
For some reason. I don't understand why this vampire family, like...
I think they're just excited that Edward found someone.
Yeah, but he himself is acknowledging that she cannot be a long-term thing. There's no discussion of, like, changing her to a vampire right now. They're just, like, sort of dating. But, like, so wouldn't they be sort of cautious of the whole relationship? Because...
I think it's when people have been single for so long and then they finally find someone and they're dating and the family's like, oh my God, we're so excited. They're not going to die alone.
I don't know. I think I get kind of Rosalie's, opinion here of, like, you're literally putting the entire family at risk.
100%. Like, because you just like this girl and you've only been dating for, like 2 days.
Yeah, like,
yes, I 100% agree with her.
Here?
Rosalie is the voice of reason a lot of the time.
True. We meet the Cullens. We get Carlisle's backstory, which is just that he's old and lived with...
It was way too long. I hated the backstory. I
lived
don't
with
care.
an Italian family for a while, learned at night, became doctor, then found all the people. And then Alice is like, let's play baseball. And Edward's like, yeah, Bella, you want to come? And Bella's like, okay. And so they go play baseball because they're vampires and they're very loud. And they need a thunderstorm to play baseball, I guess. And then the bad vampires who have been killing humans in the area,
they make an appearance and they're like, yo, we want to play baseball too.
They show up and they're described as cat-like, always on the edge of crouching.
So the 3 vampires come and they want to play baseball. And Edward's trying to conceal Bella so they don't tell that she's a human.
He was like, put your hair down. I really don't understand why they have her put her hair down.
I don't either. I didn't understand that.
I feel like hair smells. So,
right.
like, wouldn't it, if it's down, wouldn't it send more of the scent?
Well, it does. The wind blows against her hair, and then the vampires smell a human. And one of them is so intrigued by the human that he has decided that he's going to hunt her down because Edward had reacted to his reaction and now thinks that it's a challenge to get Bella and eat her.
You know what we totally skated over?
What?
The fact that Edward reads minds.
Oh, who cares?
And Alice sees the future. Well, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because then he's supposed to have this, like, amazing tracker ability.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why, like, not any vampire could do this, but he's some amazing tracker, and so he's gonna track her all over the country to get that blood. Get that blood. They run away from the field, and Edward and Bella
and Alice.
And they are arriving out of town, I guess. And she's like, nah.
I gotta tell my dad.
I gotta tell my daddy. And that section went on so long.
Yeah. So the gist of it is that she decides that she's gonna protect her dad. So she goes and basically breaks up with her dad and is like, I'm going back home. I hate forks. And says the same thing that her mom said when she left him. And so now...
Which is high-key crappy, by the way.
Yeah, that is rude.
I was really upset about how badly she hurt Charlie.
I love Charlie. Like,
He's precious,
don't you hurt
she
Charlie!
Doesn't deserve him. So those were my only 2 notes from the chapter that she does that in. How dare you do this to
How
Charlie?
dare you hurt my Charlie?
Yeah. But they decide that she's gonna pack up and say she's running away to Phoenix, and so she does that. Charlie's sad, rightfully so. Poor Charlie.
So now Edward and Bella have to split up.
Yes, and so Jasper and Alice drive from Forks, Washington to Phoenix with Bella. Why they actually went to Phoenix, I don't know. She calls her mom's house in Phoenix and leaves her phone number, which is just a bad move.
James the tracker tells her, I have your mother, and if you want to see her, you have to come to the ballet studio.
Alone. I'll know if you come with other people. And there's a quote that I wrote down. And then I carefully sealed away my heart.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, Bella. Just self-sacrificing. Edward's flying towards them because the tracker stopped hunting Edward.
Right.
And so they go to the Phoenix airport pre-TSA, and so they're, like, waiting in the terminal. And apparently it's the biggest terminal in the Phoenix airport, and magically there's this bathroom that has 2 entrances on, like, either sides of... I don't know. What I want to know is how Stephanie knows so much about the Phoenix airport. Like, did she get blueprints to know that this
No.
Like, is there a bathroom like that in the
there's
airport?
not. And there's not a bathroom like that in the Phoenix airport.
Are we sure? Do you
Yes,
know?
I've been to the- Yes,
For
I've
sure, for
looked it
sure,
up.
for sure.
I looked it up when I was a
Okay.
child because I was like, where is this bathroom? I want to go to that bathroom because
Well,
it's
because
in
she
Twilight.
says she's in the biggest terminal. Sorry. Okay, so she gets into this bathroom with 2 entrances, just runs, gets on a shuttle from the airport to the hotel, and then gets into a cab, bribes the cabbie with $80 to drive her to Scottsdale. She's supposed to get to the house and then call him. So then she calls him and he's like, good job. Come to the ballet studio. So she runs.
Come to the ballet studio for dance class.
So she runs from her home like a block and a half to the ballet studio, falls and scrapes her hands.
Because she's clumsy.
Right. Then James does the typical villain thing where he goes through his entire plan. And then James is like, all right, time to eat ya. And he, like, beats her up a little bit and bites her hand. And then an angel shows up. Guess what? It's Edward. And like magic, everything is fixed. And then she goes, I smell gasoline.
Because they're going to burn the floorboards.
They burn the whole thing down.
You know what? That poor person who owns that dance
I
studio probably put
know.
all of their hard-earned money into that business.
Hope it's insured. So Edward shows up, and Carlisle and Alice and Emmett and Jasper, and we're assuming that most of them are taking care of James. And then Carlisle is like, I'm gonna save you, Bella, and she's got a broken femur. Then all of a sudden they realize that she
has been bitten.
she has been bitten, and for some reason Carlisle says Edward has to like suck the blood out of her. I don't know why Carlisle couldn't have done it.
Edward sucks the venom out of Bella's body.
Then all of a sudden she wakes up in a hospital. And the excuse is that she fell down some stairs and flew out a window.
As one does.
Which everyone buys.
Edward makes comments about it's safer for her if she's not with him.
Yeah, and you can see him preparing to leave her. Like, this is very well setting up the next book.
Yeah. And she, like, freaks out. She's like, please don't, because she's become codependent on him.
And then he promises that he'll stay with her as long as it's good for her.
Right.
And then we have an epilogue where he takes her to prom.
Yep.
And Charlie's very suspicious of Edward now.
Which makes sense.
She gets ready for prom with Alice at the Cullens' house. Alice, like, dresses her up. And
yes, very Alice thing to do.
Yes. And then Charlie calls Edward, I believe, to inform him that Tyler has showed up to Charlie's house to take Bella to prom. And so Edward speaks briefly with Tyler to say that he will be taking her to prom. And then Jacob shows up, who we've only seen very minimally in this book. He has been paid by his father to warn her to break up with Edward, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the book.
What a literary experience.
How would you rate this book 0 to 5 vampire bites?
I would give it 3 vampire bites. It's not the best book I've ever read. There are lots of cute parts in it, and there are lots of problematic parts in it, and then there are parts that don't make any sense. But it's overall, it's a pretty enjoyable experience, especially if it gives you some nostalgia for that time that you were really into it. So
for sure.
What about you? How many vampire bites would you give it?
I think 1 to 5 vampire bites, I've got to give it like a 2. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. There are definitely like the Edward dreaming parts and like the infatuation parts are like well written.
Yes.
I think I'm more interested in it because I used to be interested in it, you know?
Yes. 100%.
Like I don't think reading this I'm like, wow, what a good book. It's like recalling how I used to love it.
Right.
And 2 out of 5 vampire bites for me.
If I'm being completely honest, I got really bored towards the end and really had to force myself to finish it.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't paying attention to a whole lot of it.
Me too.
Because I was just like, I want it over with.
One can only hope that it gets better as the books go, but also I think historically sequels are not always better.
Right. I understand why I liked it when I was 13, but now I'm going to read something else.
I mean, you're going to read the next, like, 7 books of it, though, because...
I know. Well, we're definitely reading Midnight Sun, you know?
Yeah, I'm getting that in the mail today. It's not going to be a super fast turnaround. We're not influencers here. We were not sent the book early to, like, put out a review the day it comes out or anything.
Right.
So, do we have any final thoughts, Jordan?
I'm intrigued to watch the movie and see how closely related it is to the book because I remember the movies a lot more than I remembered the book, and there are very stark differences.
Very. Yes. I think that'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's our first episode.
That's Twilight, y'all. Thank you, Jordan, for podcasting with me.
Yes, anytime. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Jordan and Rebecca Pod. You can also email us at jordanandrebeccapod@gmail.com. Send us some recommendations to review, comments, questions.
We're anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Jordan and Rebecca.